Hey, McKee, West Rucker, go Vols 24/7 here inside of Thompson Bowling Arena at Food City Center with our full court press following number 4 Tennessee basketball's 85-81 win over number 15 Missouri. It did not look good early. It did not look good in the first 2 minutes of the second half. Tennessee managed to overcome some defensive and offensive issues and really get things figured out offensively in the second half. And it was on from that point on. Tennessee's offense looked really good in the second half.
Yeah, I think maybe Rick Barnes' halftime speech was, guys, that was a really sloppy first half. Let's go out and have 2 more minutes that are even worse than the first half. And then for about 10 minutes, let's just do everything perfectly. I mean, it was, in all seriousness, you saw early on the way Tennessee was shooting the ball. Tennessee was just striping it tonight, just all night. But the turnovers early on were just a factor. They just, if they could turn off that faucet and stop turning the ball over, and they kept shooting the ball the way they were early on, I don't know if I would have said 57 points is going to happen in the second half, but they were going to score more points, and they turned it on. And I'll tell you, that's a really, really good win over what I think is a really good Mizzou basketball team.
Yeah, I told you post-game that I was watching the first half, and I was just kind of thinking Missouri's a better basketball team than Tennessee. Now, Tennessee turned it over 8 times in the first half. Missouri did not do a good job of capitalizing. So it didn't necessarily kill Tennessee in terms of Missouri was scoring off of the turnovers. It just prevented Tennessee from establishing any type of rhythm. Meanwhile, on the flip side, Missouri was not turning it over, only turned it over 3 times the entire night, and it allowed them to be in a rhythm in the first half. That was the difference in the turnovers. The difference in the game was Igor Milicic Jr. coming back, Zakai Zeigler coming back. We'll talk about both separately. I guess we'll talk about Igor first, because Zakai, we've come to expect that, and even Igor to a certain extent, but he played well against Kentucky, had to miss Florida on Saturday because of the stomach bug, and he picked up right where he left off. And I mean, he stuffed the stat sheet every which way possible. Rebounding, block shots, steals, assists, points. He had a great shooting night again. And Zakai Zeigler, when I asked him about what that does for Tennessee when Igor stuffs the stat sheet the way that he did, Zakai said that it makes them a really dangerous and just a flat-out scary basketball team.
Yeah, you know, the trick with Milicic has always been getting it on a consistent basis. But when he is on, he is one of the best big men in college basketball, and I know exactly what I'm saying there, and I mean that. He is, for a guy who's 6'10", the skills that he has, the way he can stretch the floor, the way he rebounds pretty consistently at a high level, the way he can create when he's at his best. He does things that guys who are 6'10", when they do that, they usually make a lot of money. Now the key is doing that consistently, but when he's doing it, ride that horse, because that guy, man, he can win you a lot of basketball games. He's the kind of guy that if he got hot in March, Tennessee could do a lot of damage.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. And with Zakai, I mentioned that, like, hey, well, we've come to expect that from Zakai, but even with that being said, I thought Zakai was really special tonight, especially coming off of the knee tweak. Really only 1 day of practice since that Kentucky game last Tuesday, and that practice was yesterday. Zakai spoke post-game about how he felt sitting out actually helped him in a sense, because it allowed him to slow down and see the court a little bit better and see other things a little bit better. But he was terrific, as Rick Barnes said, and just, I thought, in complete control and command of the game on both ends of the floor.
Yeah, you know, you normally get Zeigler defensively, it's elite every night. Now, down the stretch against Kentucky, there were times maybe in the second half maybe his knee was bothering him a little bit. Obviously, he couldn't play the next game. But regardless, he wasn't maybe at his best defensively in that game. But normally, you know what you're getting. One of the best defenders in college basketball, one of the best creative forces offensively in college basketball, a guy who can control the game as well as anybody in college basketball at the point guard position. When he's making threes on top of it, he is ridiculous. When he's making threes like this, I mean, again, Rick Barnes said it really well. Everything looks great when you're making shots. No matter what, teams can play terrible basketball and win games if they make shots. They can play great basketball and lose when they miss shots. But when Zeigler's making the three and you have to come out and guard him there, I mean, Gates said it himself, it changes the way you have to play Tennessee when guys like Zeigler and Milicic are raining threes.
It definitely does, and it feels like Tennessee can take a breath, have a sigh of relief, and it can to a certain extent. Oklahoma is not as good of a team as the 5 that Tennessee just got done playing. I mean, Tennessee just wrapped up a stretch of 5 straight games against top 15 opponents, not top 25 matchups, which would be absurd on its own merit. 5 straight top 15 matchups. Tennessee goes 3-2. One of the losses was a 1-point loss at the best team in the country in their building. So you feel good about where Tennessee is at, but quick turnaround with playing on Wednesday night, and now you go to Norman on Saturday to face an Oklahoma team that's fallen out of the top 25 and has been up and down, but they're a much different team at home than they are on the road. That's going to be an early start. Again, a quick turnaround. So Tennessee's going to have to be very mature these next couple of days leading into tip-off on Saturday.
Yeah, and Porter Moser, people know his history against Tennessee. I mean, he got a team ready to go play and shock Tennessee in the NCAA tournament. People don't. I mean, it wasn't just Sister Jean; it was also the coaches and players on that team who did that. But I think Oklahoma's still got a first-round draft pick. Oklahoma's still got some guys who scare you, but they are not the same level of team Tennessee's been playing. But that's on the road in a gym they've never played in, or at least none of these guys have, and so. Yeah, it's an early start. You're on the road. It's a decent flight. I mean, you got to go ready to play, because Tennessee's learned the past couple of years. I think in the past 3 or 4 years, they're a bigger deal than they've ever been when they go on the road. Teams show up. Their fans show up. Zeigler said it. He said it a couple times this season. It's almost like he watches film, but he expects the film to be like that and extra when that team plays Tennessee. You go on the road. You're a big draw. They got to come ready to play.
They do have to be very mature these next couple of days. We'll have plenty of coverage of Tennessee basketball at GoVols247.com. All the coverage you need, analysis, transcripts, videos, podcasts, whatever you need, it'll be at GoVols247.com. He's Wes Rucker. I'm Ben McKee.